Hey everyone, so let's talk about GPUs and Black Friday deals. Are there any? I really don't think so, just because GPUs usually don't have that good of a discount. But you're going to browse along. Let's browse on Amazon because Amazon everybody has access to. It's not like Micro Center where only a few people have them. Amazon everybody can go to and you can take a look. So let's start taking a look. I'm just gonna go to Amazon. I'm gonna search for NVIDIA GPU, and that's gonna come up with AMD as well, and maybe even Intel. They'll mix it in there. And then I'm going to click on the top left where it says Black Friday deals, because we want to make sure that we're getting whatever the Black Friday deals are, since Amazon started early. And now let's hear a word from our sponsor, VIP-CDKdeals.com, a Windows Pro CD key. Add to cart, you put in code CC20. This will also work on Windows 11. You want to go into your settings in Windows, change and adjust your CD key, click activate, and now let's go back to the video. So right at the top of the list here, we have and I'm taking a look on the screen as I'm talking to you guys. We'll see if there are any good deals. So the first one that comes up, it says overall pick. More than 1,000 bought in the last month. So that's a lot. The GeForce 4070 Ti Super at $739.99. Now, the 4070 Ti Super obviously came out earlier this year. This one had a price of $839 and it's down about $100. And remember, the regular 4070 Ti Super MSRP is $799 if you get like a base version. So it looks like you're getting $100 off, but this is not really a good deal. I mean, it's just a little bit off an $800 GPU basically, and I'm pretty sure I've seen this price like throughout the year. This is like the max that it seems like they can discount. These AIB partners like MSI and Asus, I don't think they make that much money on these graphics cards. I think they come expensive already from NVIDIA, like when they get the actual chip, PCB, and then when they put the coolers on, because I remember when EVGA stopped producing GPUs and basically disappeared, that the margins are very thin on GPUs. Even they said it. It's sometimes less than 5%. It could be 1-2% depending on the GPU. That's why they increased the price more. But the GPU itself, I think, is already expensive. They just don't have that much room. So it would have to be some improvement on NVIDIA's end probably, and lowering the prices in general for us to see lower prices. So we're not seeing that big of a discount. And now, is the 4070 Ti Super a good GPU? Yes, it's a good GPU because now finally it has 16 gigabytes of VRAM. I never liked the 4070 Ti with 12 gigabytes of VRAM, the original one, because it was just too little RAM for the price. I mean, you're paying a high-end GPU price for something that should have been like a 4070 basically. And it struggled with 4K, and at least this one you can do 4K. 16 gigabytes of VRAM is more than sufficient. So if you buy this GPU, it's not bad. And look, over 1,000 people have bought it in the last month. That's a lot. That's a lot of 4070 Ti's, because this is not a cheap GPU at all. But is it a Black Friday deal? It says it is, but I don't think so. Like, what price would this have to be for it to be maybe a Black Friday deal that I would consider it like a smart buy? I would say maybe $699. Like, that seems like that's a good deal. Like, that's maybe unreasonable in GPU terms. That they're obviously not going to price it that low, but that's a pretty good deal. Now, it does say that you do get the Indiana Jones RTX 40 series bundle. So if that's a game you wanted to buy, like, okay, maybe that'll add some value for you. Maybe that game might even be available on Game Pass, because I think it might be releasing on Game Pass. So if you have Game Pass, you're already going to get it for free anyway. But if you don't have Game Pass, or if it's not coming out there, I got to double check, then this could be a good deal if you were going to buy the game anyway. Then it gets down to $700 or less if you count the cost of the game. But that's kind of pushing it. NVIDIA always has these different bundles and these different deals. So it's a good GPU for that price, but it's definitely not a Black Friday sale. This is like a regular sale. Let's see the next GPU down the line, and this is going to be even worse. This is going to be an Asus 4060 Ti 16 gigabyte. Now, $449, I mean, it says Black Friday deal once again from a list price of $529, but who's paying $529 for a 4060 Ti, even if it does have 16 gigabytes of VRAM? Now, I did review a 4060 Ti. It was actually, I believe, this very same Asus model. And price aside, it's actually a pretty good GPU. The 16 gigabytes of VRAM certainly does not help as much on a GPU like this. It helps a lot more on the 4070 Ti Super, for example. But in some cases, in some games, you do notice a difference. You do notice an impact, and it is a little more future-proofing. And obviously, people who use it for non-gaming purposes, like 3D stuff and content creation or machine learning, if you use this tier of GPU, 16 gigabytes of VRAM, you can't go wrong with 16 gigabytes of VRAM. It's always a benefit. The question is it worth the cost? And it doesn't make as much sense paired to this. Obviously, they have to do 16 gigabytes because of the way the VRAM is configured, but it would make more sense for it to be 12 gigabytes at this price point, for example, like the AMD 6700 XT was, for example. So $449.99, that's not a Black Friday deal. That really isn't a great deal. This is what the price should be at the most already. So I'd like to see this like maybe $399 at most, maybe like $375. Then it makes some sense. And that would mean an 8 gigabyte 4060 Ti should then be $350 or lower. And then obviously a 4060 would go even lower. So that doesn't seem like a good deal. They're putting like the most overpriced stuff here with like, minimal discounts or prices that it should be. You'll notice on Amazon, sometimes if it's the lowest price that it's ever been, it'll say like this is the lowest price in the last 30 days, for example. And I don't see that written on any of these. Let me see if I actually click on it. It just says Black Friday deal. And obviously you can get, the delivery fast and everything, but it doesn't say anywhere that this is the lowest price it's been. So that means that maybe it was this price already during the year. So if we go down the list, let's see if it gets any better or any worse. We have another 4070 Ti Super. And look, this one's at what the MSRP of this GPU should be, $799. This particular model is an Asus TUF, which is, a little bit nicer, cooler. Originally $889. That's too high still, and this is the MSRP you should be paying. It doesn't feel like a good deal. Maybe this is the price of the GPU that it typically should be, but it doesn't feel like a Black Friday deal. I think that's a little bit misleading. Even though the 4060 Ti Super, it is a good GPU now. I do like it, but this is not a good Black Friday deal. So as we go through this, I don't know if I'm going to have too many to recommend to you guys because they're all not really good deals. Remember, we have the RTX 50 series coming out probably in a few months. It's November 22nd now, so they're going to announce these GPUs most likely at CES. That's in January of 2025. So maybe like a month and a little bit, month and a half. So they're going to announce them at least, and the prices of the GPUs of RTX 40 series are going to go down a lot, especially with some of the performance that we may be getting with the like a 5080 or a 5070. Like a 5070, if that comes out at $699, for example, that's going to drop the price of the 4070 Ti Super by a lot, because we're assuming the 5070 is going to perform at least as good, if not better, than a 4070 Ti Super, or at least in that range. So we'll have to see about that. So what else do we have? Okay, now another Asus, the ProArt. And remember, the ProArt GPUs are kind of aimed at the more creative crowd. It's not as much a gaming GPU. It's smaller. It's meant to fit in certain cases. I actually have a 4080 ProArt that's in the Falcon Northwest Tiki. That's a very small case, and that is literally the only 4080 that would really fit in there, because the cooler design is very small. It's almost like the older Founder editions, not the big 4090 style, but like the older coolers, like a 3080 size or something like that. So that's the benefit of that GPU. If you have a mini ITX enclosure, it's not as big as other GPUs. It takes up fewer slots, so you can fit it in a small ITX enclosure, but it's more expensive, and you're not getting any more performance. Remember, most NVIDIA GPUs, if you compare the base model with even one of these like overclocked models, and the difference is very little in actual performance. Maybe if you're lucky, like 3 to 5% better sometimes, but not always. But then you're paying a lot more in price. You could be paying $100 more just to have a fancy cooler, or a little bit more overclockability, which doesn't really. These GPUs already come out like pretty much ready to go from the factory. So then it just depends if you want to pay more for aesthetics. Like if you like Asus ROG, for example, you want that to look nice in your case, you may pay $50 or $100 more for that reason, and that's fine as well. But for people who want to find a little bit better value, you don't necessarily need that. So going down, and by the way, the 4070 Super I also consider a very good GPU. But remember, MSRP is supposed to be $599. And this one here is $609. So yeah, it's a fancier cooler, but I don't know. With new GPUs coming out, this doesn't seem like a Black Friday deal. This seems like an okay price for the GPU in general, but like it lists for $689. Nobody's gonna, like, for $689, you might as well go up to 4070 Ti Super or something like that. So $609. I mean, I'd like to see this ideally like $575. Maybe that would be a good Black Friday deal. $609, it's still, I don't know, it doesn't really feel like that cheap. So let's go down the tier a little bit. We have a gigabyte. This is going to be a regular 4060. Remember, it's only going to have 8 gigabytes of VRAM now, which is kind of pushing it in 2024, even for a 4060. So I don't know. $284.99. I mean, I've bought 4060s before to test for cheaper than this. I remember I got a PNY one, and this was like months, maybe last year, and it was like $270 or $275. So even though it lists at $319, $284 is still a lot for a 4060. I want to see this at $250, to be honest. So this is an okay price once again for the GPU, but this is kind of like what it should be. That's not a very good Black Friday deal. Then we have a 3050 for $152. I don't know. That starts to get a little bit. It's hard when the GPU gets that much lower. Then it depends what else you can find on the market. Sometimes you can find a better used GPU for that price, rather than going down to a new one. You can find sometimes like an old 3070, for example, that's going to be better than this for not too much more, and it probably will work fine. So maybe I'd recommend looking at the used market on that price level. So let's look at another one here now from Asus. This is a 349. I mean, we just didn't like the price of a 284 4060, so I'm not going to like the price on a 349 4060. Now, this is so much higher because it is the Asus Strix, so this is going to be probably the highest end 4060 period. But at that point, I mean, there's so many other GPUs you can get for $350. Like, this might be a Black Friday deal in terms of like the pricing on this one. But so once again, I don't really think this is a good deal at all. Like, if this GPU was the 284, like the price of the other one, considering the aesthetics and that the ROG Strix is really nice, you may want to put that as a display piece in your case, then $284, maybe even $300 would be a Black Friday deal. But $349 for a 4060, like, that's not a GPU that at this price level, you don't want to spend money, with the aesthetics of your GPU at this price level. I'd rather go up a tier in performance and just have the base model, to be honest. This is when you have a 4090 or even like a 4080 or something like that, where it's already up there, maybe the best or close to the best in performance, and you just want a nice aesthetic to go with it. Like, maybe you do want a 4080 Super Strix, even though that's almost as much as like a base 4090 if you can find it. Then that at least makes a little more sense. But when you're down in this price level, you want to focus on performance first, because that's what's going to matter the most. And there's a big difference sometimes between a 4060 and a 4070. So you want to keep an eye on that. So that's pretty much it. Nothing too good. If I see something good, I'll try to mention it to you guys. But these are all slightly discounted at best, and probably the price that the GPU should be. So definitely a good idea to wait for the next RTX 50 series. Even if you're not getting that, just that being released is going to drop the price of all these other GPUs, which you can get for a lot cheaper. Then the price will go down after new stuff comes out. All right, guys. So remember to subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next video.